Welcome to UrbArchitect, where we dissect the DNA of our built environment. Today we present our most comprehensive profile yet, a deep, immersive exploration of Norman Foster, the architect who redefined what buildings could be in the modern age. This is not just a story of iconic forms and soaring structures. It is a narrative about a philosophy, a relentless pursuit of efficiency, and a humanist vision that has shaped our cities for over half a century. We will journey from the rain-swept streets of industrial Manchester to the gleaming pinnacles of global capitals, deconstructing the core principles that unite his vast body of work. We will delve into the technical marvels of his projects, uncovering the hidden systems and pioneering materials that make them tick. We will confront the controversies and complexities of a practice operating on a global scale, and we will ultimately discover why, in an era defined by the climate crisis and rapid urbanization, Foster's legacy of doing more with less is not merely inspirational, it is absolutely essential. Our story begins in the 1930s, in the working-class neighborhood of Levenshulme, Manchester. This was a cityscape of brick and industry, a world where form followed function in the most straightforward, unadorned way. Young Norman Foster's father managed a pawnbroker's shop, a place where objects held residual value and nothing was wasted. A lesson in economy that would subconsciously permeate his future work. But two powerful forces pulled him away from this preordained path. The first was a voracious, almost insatiable appetite for knowledge. He became a regular at the local library, devouring books on art, engineering, and architecture. He was particularly drawn to the works of Le Corbusier, whose visions of a radiant city and the machine for living ignited his imagination, and Frank Lloyd Wright, whose organic architectures demonstrated a profound connection between building and landscape. The second, and perhaps more formative force, was a deep, abiding fascination with the world of aviation and transportation. He was captivated by the sleek, purposeful lines of airplanes, the Spitfire, the Lancaster bomber, marvels of engineering where every gram of weight was accounted for, where the structure was the skin, and where beauty was a direct byproduct of pure, unadulterated efficiency. He would spend hours drawing these machines, absorbing the logic of their assembly. This was not a passing hobby. It was the genesis of an entire design ethos. The airplane, the bridge, the car, these were objects that had to perform, and their aesthetics were a direct expression of that performance. This would become the central tenet of Fosterian architecture, a belief that a building like a plane should be lightweight, efficient, and technologically advanced, a direct and honest expression of its purpose. His path to architecture was not direct. He left school at 16, working first in the city treasurer's office of Manchester Town Hall, an experience that gave him a practical understanding of bureaucracy and finance, and later served in the Royal Air Force. This stint in the RAF only deepened his appreciation for the culture of precision, teamwork, and technical excellence inherent in aviation. A pivotal, life-altering moment came when he gathered the courage to show his portfolio of drawings and paintings to the editor of a Manchester architectural magazine. The editor saw raw, untamed talent and strongly encouraged him to pursue architecture formally. Foster, fueled by this validation, secured a place at the University of Manchester School of Architecture. He graduated with honors, and in a twist of fate that would redirect his entire life, he won a Henry Fellowship to Yale University in 1961. Yale was a crucible of architectural thought. Immersed in the vibrant American context of mid-century modernism, he was exposed to the powerful teachings of figures like Paul Rudolph and the enduring legacy of Louis Kahn. It was here that he met another foreign student who shared his passion for technology and modernism, Richard Rogers. The connection was instantaneous and powerful. They were kindred spirits, both fascinated by the potential of industrial materials and prefabrication. Together, they returned to England and, with their wives Wendy Cheeseman and Sue Rogers, formed the legendary partnership known as Team 4. Their early work, such as the Creek Veen House in Cornwall, was a radical departure. The house was buried into a cliffside, its structure of raw, board-marked concrete, and its industrial components left boldly exposed. It was a building that embraced its site and celebrated its means of construction, a clear precursor to the high-tech style they would later pioneer. However, it was after Team 4 dissolved in 1967 that Foster, establishing his own practice, Foster Associates, began to articulate a vision that was distinctly and uniquely his own. The first major project that announced this new voice was the Willis Faber and Dumas headquarters in Ipswich, completed in 1975. This building remains a stunningly radical statement. Imagine a 3-story curtain of black, reflective glass draped softly over an entire medieval city block. It had no corners, seamlessly following the ancient street patterns, reflecting the historic townscape by day, and becoming a glowing, transparent lantern at night. This was a profound gesture of contextual sensitivity, yet achieved through utterly modern means. But the real revolution was on the roof. A sprawling, undulating green lawn, a social space for employees that was an incredibly early and prescient example of biophilic design, predating the contemporary green roof movement by decades. Internally, the floors were vast, open, and completely free of columns, thanks to a sophisticated suspended structure. This was not merely an office building. It was a social and technological manifesto. It prioritized the well-being of its users and enriched the urban fabric, demonstrating that a corporate headquarters could be a generous and integrated civic entity. The project that truly launched Foster onto the world stage and solidified his do more with less philosophy was the Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation headquarters, completed in 1986. This was not just a skyscraper, it was a paradigm shift, a kit of parts assembled into a vertical city. Foster fundamentally rethought the skyscraper typology by turning it inside out. Instead of a central core containing elevators and services, he designed the building around 8 giant, external steel masts. The floors were then suspended from these masts in 5-story tiers, creating breathtaking, column-free interior spaces on the upper levels. This structural audacity also allowed for a monumental public gesture. The entire ground plane was liberated, becoming a vast, covered civic plaza, a gift of public space to the congested heart of Hong Kong. The building was a masterpiece of prefabrication and global logistics. Components were manufactured with shipbuilding precision in the UK, Japan, and the United States, then shipped to Hong Kong for assembly like a gigantic Meccano set. The environmental strategy was equally ingenious. A massive sun scoop, a computer-controlled mirror on the southern facade, tracked the sun and reflected its light 30 stories down into the grand public atrium, flooding the heart of the building with natural light and drastically reducing the need for artificial illumination. The HSBC headquarters was a machine for banking, but it was a machine of unparalleled intelligence, elegance, and social conscience. It proved that high-tech architecture could be profoundly human-centric, that a building could be a complex, performance-driven instrument that actively enhances the experience of its users and the city around it. From this point, Foster's philosophy crystallized into a coherent and powerful doctrine: architecture as the art and science of maximizing effect while minimizing resource. He constantly spoke of lightness, a concept that operated on multiple levels. It was a physical goal, reducing the literal weight and material mass of a structure. It was a visual goal, creating buildings that appeared to float, to defy gravity. And most importantly, it was an environmental and ethical goal, reducing the ecological burden of a building on the planet. This made him a pioneer of sustainable design decades before it entered the mainstream architectural lexicon. He began integrating features like natural ventilation, double-skin facades, groundwater cooling, greywater recycling, and intelligent building management systems not as afterthoughts or checkbox exercises, but as the fundamental drivers of architectural form and spatial experience. This holistic approach found its most publicly adored expression in 30 St. Mary Axe, better known as the Gherkin, completed in 2003. Its iconic, bulging aerodynamic form is a direct result of intensive environmental analysis. A standard rectangular tower would have created punishing downdrafts and vortexes at street level, and would have required a massive internal core to resist wind loads. The Gherkin's circular, gently tapering shape allows wind to glide smoothly around its surface, reducing wind pressure by nearly half. This allowed for a revolutionary geogrid structural exoskeleton, which in turn eliminated the need for a central core, creating a radically open interior. The building is naturally ventilated. Its 6-story high spiral atria act as a lungs, drawing fresh air in through automatically operated vents and exhausting stale air out the top. The Gherkin uses roughly half the energy of a comparable conventional office tower. It stands as a triumphant proof that the most intelligent, sustainable solution can also give rise to the most iconic and beloved urban form. It is the ultimate expression of Foster's belief that performance and beauty are inseparable. Yet, Foster's vision extended far beyond the corporate skyscraper. His transformation of the Reichstag in Berlin, completed in 1999, is arguably his most profound political and architectural statement. Following German reunification, the task was to create a new parliamentary home that embodied transparency, democracy, and a definitive break from the secrecy and darkness of the Nazi and Cold War eras. Foster's winning design was a masterstroke of respectful yet radical intervention. He preserved the historic stone shell, meticulously conserving the scars of war and Soviet soldiers' graffiti as a memory of the building, a permanent memorial to a troubled past. But his crowning achievement was the new glass dome. This dome is a sublime piece of architectural symbolism and environmental engineering. The public is invited to walk up a spiraling ramp to the very top, literally looking down upon the elected officials in the chamber below, a powerful physical manifestation of the people above the government. At the dome's heart is a towering light sculpture, an inverted cone covered in 360 movable mirrors that track the sun, reflecting natural light deep into the plenary hall while blocking solar gain. This same cone acts as part of a natural ventilation system, drawing stale air out of the chamber. The Reichstag is now a building that runs on renewable biofuel, producing its own power. It is architecture as healing, using light, air, and public access to redefine a nation's democratic identity. Foster's ability to operate at the vast scale of infrastructure is magnificently demonstrated by the Millau Viaduct in southern France, a collaboration with engineer Michel Verlaguez, which opened in 2004. As the tallest bridge in the world, it could have been a brutish imposition on the majestic Tarn Valley. Instead, Foster treated it as an exercise in supreme elegance. He focused on the minutiae of design, the precise taper of the slender concrete piers, the delicate curve of the deck, to create a structure that appears impossibly light, a single graceful stroke across the sky. The viaduct seems to float above the clouds, a testament to his belief that infrastructure should not conquer a landscape but engage in a respectful dialogue with it, minimizing its visual and environmental footprint while enhancing the human experience of movement and connection. It is doing more with less, rendered in a breathtaking monumental form. In the 21st century, Foster Plus Partners has continued to evolve, taking on commissions that represent the apotheosis of their ideals. The collaboration with Apple on Apple Park in Cupertino is one such project. This 175-acre campus, with its iconic ring-shaped main building, is a monument to seamless integration. The 4-story, 2.8 million square foot structure is clad in the largest panels of curved glass ever made, creating a continuous, uninterrupted facade. Its design fosters collaboration through shared spaces and a perimeter ring that encourages chance encounters. It is naturally ventilated for most of the year. Its roof is a massive solar farm, and it sits within a meticulously restored native landscape. Apple Park is the ultimate Fosterian machine, a machine for innovation, well-being, and environmental stewardship, executed with a fanatical attention to detail that blurs the line between architecture and product design. Another key New York project, the Hearst Tower, completed in 2006, showcases Foster's skill in fusing heritage with hypermodernity. Rather than demolishing the original 1928 6-story stone base, he engineered a soaring 46-story Gherkin tower to rise from within it. The Gherkin, a triangulated steel frame, is not only visually dynamic, but is 20% more efficient in its use of steel than a conventional frame. The tower was the first occupied skyscraper in New York to achieve LEED Gold certification, incorporating a high-performance glass curtain wall, recycled materials, and rainwater collection systems that reduce potable water usage. It stands as a powerful argument for the creative reuse of existing structures, proving that historic preservation and cutting-edge sustainability can be powerfully synthesized. To further understand the breadth of his work, we must look at other seminal projects. The Stansted Airport Terminal in London, completed in 1991, revolutionized airport design. Foster inverted the typical model by placing all the services, baggage handling, ventilation ducts, electrical systems, in the basement, thereby liberating the main terminal level into a single, vast, and incredibly light-filled space. The roof is supported by a forest of lightweight tree-like structures, each incorporating natural daylighting. This created a calm, intuitive, and uplifting passenger experience, a stark contrast to the chaotic, labyrinthine airports of the past. It was a masterclass in using architectural design to simplify complex flows and reduce stress, another application of doing more with less in a public infrastructure project. On the other end of the spectrum, the Quai d'Art in Nîmes, France, completed in 1993, demonstrates Foster's sensitive approach to building in historic contexts. Facing the ancient Roman Maison Carrée Temple, Foster designed a 9-story building that is a study in modernity and deference. Its facade is a sleek grid of glass and steel, but its scale and vertical rhythm subtly echo the classical colonnade of its ancient neighbor. A large public plaza unites the two buildings, and the lower levels of the Quai d'Art are sunken, allowing natural light to filter down while preserving views of the temple. The building uses water from a local spring for its cooling system. It is a dialogue across 2 millennia, showing how contemporary architecture can respect and enhance a historic setting without resorting to pastiche. More recently, the Bloomberg European headquarters in London, completed in 2017, has been hailed as one of the world's most sustainable office buildings. Its design is a culmination of Foster's decades of research. It features a unique breathing facade with 500,000 bronze petals that open and close to regulate temperature and ventilation. Instead of standard air conditioning, it uses a natural ventilation system inspired by ancient Roman techniques, with water-cooled ceilings. The building's dramatic, spiraling ramp at its center encourages walking and interaction, while its integrated art program and lavish amenities focus on occupant well-being. It achieved an unprecedented BREEAM Outstanding rating, proving that deep sustainability and a premium, human-centric work environment are not just compatible, but synergistic. Of course, a career of this magnitude and influence is not without its significant controversies and critiques, which are essential for a balanced understanding. Projects like Apple Park are criticized for their exorbitant cost and their introverted suburban campus model, which some argue promotes isolation over the engaged, mixed-use urbanism crucial for sustainable cities. His firm's work on large-scale projects in authoritarian states, such as the planned city of Masdar in Abu Dhabi, which, while ambitious in its zero-carbon goals, has been scaled back and faces questions about its real-world viability and social context, or the vast airport projects, raise difficult ethical questions. Critics argue that these projects can be seen as starchitecture, lending its credibility to regimes, and that the immense embodied carbon in such monumental constructions can offset their operational efficiencies. These are the complex, unresolved dilemmas of practicing at a global scale in the 21st century, and they force us to confront the limits of architectural agency and the social responsibility of the architect. So, why does Norman Foster's legacy resonate with such critical urgency today? As we grapple with the existential threat of climate change and the imperative to decarbonize our built environment, his lifelong crusade for efficiency, lightness, and resourcefulness is no longer a stylistic choice. It is a fundamental ethical mandate. He has demonstrated through a prolific and evolving body of work that high-performance, sustainable architecture need not be austere, punitive, or aesthetically bland. It can be exhilarating, beautiful, socially vibrant, and spiritually uplifting. He has steadfastly championed the belief that technology, when guided by a humanist vision and a profound sense of social and environmental responsibility, is our most powerful tool for creating a better, more resilient world. He fused the analytical rigor of the engineer with the empathetic soul of the poet, proving that the relentless pursuit of lightness and efficiency can yield some of the most enduring and humane landmarks of our time. Norman Foster taught us that the future of our cities and our planet depends on intelligence over mass, on grace over force, on empathy over ego. He provided a blueprint, not just for individual buildings, but for a more thoughtful, more efficient, and more sustainable relationship between humanity and the world we build. His is a legacy that challenges every architect, planner, and citizen to think more deeply, to innovate more boldly, and to always strive to do more with less. For UrbArchitect, I'm your host. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the mind of a master.